Hello and welcome to Week 7 of the Please Bet on Football Games podcast. I am your host Alex, here with the on-air talent Joe. Joe, how are we doing today?
My ass hurts from the licking that God gave it this past weekend.
It was a tough week.
By licking, I mean the absolute beating, not the pleasant ass eating.
It wasn't the licking you were looking for.
Bullshit report?
Yeah, let's just get into it.
Yeah, fuck them.
First up, one of our two winners for the week. We had Minnesota minus 2.5 against the Chicago Bears. It worked.
Yeah, no, that was legit. I mean, we were a little lucky that Justin Fields went out, right? Wrong, because Tyson Bagent had more yards and points in one quarter than Fields had in three. Turns out, Justin Fields is just bad at football, which is part of our handicap.
Exactly. Justin Fields bad at football. Small lines. Bet against the Bears.
Literally, Justin Fields is free money to fade because if he does one thing right, the entirety of the Midwest is going to sing his praises until the line becomes completely out of whack. So we've got one thing figured out.
That is nice. We need to figure out more things.
Yep.
Because moving on to our best bet of the week, we had the Seattle Seahawks plus 3 against the Bengals. The Seahawks lost by more than that.
They lost by 4. Which sucks, but it sucks especially bad considering that in the fourth quarter alone, the Seahawks turned the ball over on downs in a goal-to-go situation either 3 or 4 times. I think it was 3.
It's too many.
Geno Smith also threw 4 or 5 interceptable balls.
Also too many.
And DK Metcalf himself dropped 2 elite balls that at least would have resulted in field goals, but turned out to be punts instead. We got fucked on that game. Total bullshit. The Seahawks dominated the game. Joe Burrow could not do anything against man coverage. As soon as in the second half, the Seahawks realized if we press and force Joe Burrow to throw more than 8 yards downfield, he just can't even do anything. So they did, and he immediately threw a pick. And then from then on, the Bengals did not move the ball an inch. God damn it, Seahawks. If they would have just kicked 1 field goal, we easily would have covered. If they would have kicked 3 field goals, we would have won substantially.
Right. And obviously, the game works out a little bit different if you start kicking field goals. But you got plus 3 and you left 9 points on the board.
Like minimum 9. Like 9 obvious points.
Right. It's a tough pill to swallow. Yeah, it definitely helped. I don't know, it looked real bad at the beginning, and I thought we just fucked up.
Yep.
But then the Seahawks figured out, just play press, and the Bengals completely stalled, and I was like, oh, wow, the Seahawks just didn't do their homework? But
well, I know what it is. Teams are terrified of that first Burrow and Chase year, where all they did was throw absolute fucking bullshit deep balls, and then just cornerbacks would get confused, so they had a bunch of fucking deep shots.
They did.
And that's the year that the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, so when people think Burrow to Chase, Cincinnati Bengals, they think, fuck it, Jamar down there somewhere. But that's not how the Bengals actually function, and it's not what they're good at. So teams are afraid of a boogeyman that doesn't really exist. Unlike other boogeymen, which obviously the boogeyman's real. It's October, spooky season. And it scares them off from playing the way they should.
We have a beautiful pumpkin next to our microphones for the spooky season.
And another one on the TV stand.
Spooky as shit in Joe's apartment.
I like pumpkins.
Seattle, bullshit loss.
Fucking bullshit.
Moving on.
Yep.
We had New Orleans minus 1. Fuck, it hurts to bet on Derek Carr.
2 missed field goals. One was 29 yards, one was 48. That would have won us the game.
True.
And another 2 turnovers on downs in the deep red zone, both of which could have been field goals that would have won us the game. This hurt. It was bullshit. The Saints have a kicker that is a rare combination of extremely weak-legged and extremely inaccurate. How you can miss a 29-yard field goal by at least 10 yards is beyond me. This is bullshit, and I hate the Saints.
I tend to agree, but I think some of it is our own fault for continuously betting on Derek Carr and the Saints offense.
Oh, see, you're onto something there. However, CJ Stroud threw 2 pickables again. Mm-hmm. One of them actually finally fucking got picked. CJ Stroud has thrown multiple pickable balls in every game this year that I've seen. I haven't graded one of them. And none of them have been picked until the Saints game. So naturally, Saints linebacker picks off the ball, has it in field goal range, and fumbles the ball right back to the Texans. If he doesn't, that's another field goal that Groupie gets to miss, which would have won the game. By the way, the Texans obviously drove down the field on that drive and got a touchdown.
Yes.
Obviously.
So from this game, do we keep trying to bet against the Texans because everyone is going
yes, the Texans
CJ Stroud is the best rookie quarterback?
Texans are fade list.
Heard. Well, at least we learned something.
Yeah, I'm going to actually make note of that. Texans are fade list.
And next up, our other win for the week. We had Washington plus 2.5 against the Falcons. That one felt pretty easy.
Yeah, that one was pretty easy. Sam Howell played really well again. I think we're reaching a point where Sam Howell is just really fucking good.
We might be.
Because the Falcons' defense is not bad, and Sam Howell did everything he wanted to do against them. I gave him a B+. So it wasn't like, fuck, he's dominating this game, but it was certainly a very good to great game. On the other side, Desmond Ridder, he's definitely off the inept list. He is below it. He is a saboteur. He joins Dorian Thompson-Robinson in the, oh my god, he is going to kill us, ranks. 5 pickables. I think 3 of them were picked. I think 2 of them were in the end zone or red zone. So, as much as Sam Howell played well, the Redskins' defense is still not good, and the Falcons are just worse.
Feels like we're just adding a lot of teams to the fade list.
I mean, most of this... just take a step back. Are there any teams this year that you actually like and feel good about? Because there aren't for me. Even the 49ers don't have a fucking quarterback. Even the Dolphins don't have a fucking quarterback.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There are no good teams.
The Dolphins are my go-to simply because of my Sober King and the just raw, dirty speed they have.
It is so sexy.
But Tua just... Oh, God,
in week 5, Tua threw 5 pickables.
He steals any ability for me to root for that team. 1, because I don't think he's very good, and 2, I've kind of come around on he's insufferable.
Yeah. Not as bad as his fans, but not good.
True.
I finally blocked that Brandon asshole on Twitter today.
Good for you.
He wouldn't shut up about how Herbert actually sucks, and I was like, you know what? I don't need you.
That's growth right there.
There is nothing you provide my life.
I agree. I think that's...
So fuck you, Brandon, and fuck NYU for accepting you. That had to be a mistake. They clearly sent it to the wrong person.
Easy.
They wanted Joe Biden, and they accidentally sent it to real Brandon.
I'm sorry for all the Brandons that are not the Brandon Joe's speaking about.
I don't apologize. You should have... You know what? It's your guys' job to keep your ranks in check.
Well, here's something we should apologize for. Tampa Bay plus 3.5. I think they lost by 14.
Yeah, I was just wrong.
Yeah.
Baker did not play well. It was clearly his worst game of the season. I actually just finished making the video before Alex got here to record. It'll be out before this podcast. I'm going to put this podcast out in the morning. I'm going to put Baker out probably also in the... I don't fucking know. Regardless, Baker missed 5 deep shots, 2 or 3 which would have been touchdowns. As I explained in the video, he's just overthrowing everything, and he's not putting air under the ball. He's trying to throw perfect line drive deep balls, which is sick, and it's what Tom Brady does, but there's literally no margin for error, and he keeps on overthrowing them by like a step or 2, and that isn't completable. Whereas if you put some air under it, guys can adjust, or if you underthrow it, guys can adjust. So he's fucking himself for no reason. If he hits any of those 5 deep balls, I think it's a different game. If Mike Evans doesn't drop 3 balls again, I think it's a different game. The pick in the red zone that the Lions got a field goal off of on the second drive for the Buccaneers, the tip ball, Mike Evans was wide open 30 yards downfield. If Baker throws a moon ball and just lofts it over the defensive line, it's a huge gain, maybe a touchdown, probably just a huge gain. Mike Evans slow. But instead he tries to gun it and put it on his, right on his face mask. And that's how it gets batted. So Baker needs to chill the fuck out and stop trying to be so perfect and just get it done. Do some Jared Goffing. Do a little Joe Flaccoing even. Instead, he's Mariota-ing, and it's failing. So the Buccaneers had a shot. Baker let us down, but the Buccaneers have no margin for error, and we shouldn't be betting on them against good teams. And the Lions are a good team. Yeah,
I think you're right. Tampa Bay is firmly in that kind of mid.
No, like mid.
Yeah, like I think they're kind of mid. They're on the precipice of being like decent.
If they could, if their play calling got 10% better and Baker continues to play well as he has outside of Week 6, they're a little good, and it's all there for him. But that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think they're just like kind of in between mid and decent.
They'll probably be a wild card team, or at least very close. Well, actually, they're probably going to win that fucking shit division.
So I'd say that division is pretty awful, but
Regardless, we gotta curb our enthusiasm on the Bucks, and we gotta respect the Lions a little bit more. But also, we just didn't have a good fucking bet to make.
Yep.
Although you had a good one, and I kiboshed it.
So we did talk about doing Dallas -2.
Yep.
Because we felt that Dallas would probably win.
Yep.
It was just scary on how, and didn't want to bet against Herbs.
So my theory was Dallas is going to win this game 80% of the time, because the only way the Chargers win is if Herbert turns in an A performance. And even Justin Herbert turns in an A performance like a third of the time, not even half the time. So...
But Herbert didn't have an A performance.
No, he actually did the exact same thing as Baker Mayfield. Like, they had extremely similar games, down to their critical flaw being they didn't hit deep shots because they overthrew them trying to be perfect. They had the same fucking game. And that's very frustrating, because Herbert is supposed to be the one who never lets me down. Baker is supposed to let me down. So, you were right. I should have put my pom-poms away for Herbert. Logically, I knew you were right. We should have played the odds, because there was a 25-30% chance that Herbert balls out and wins that game. But that still means we win like 60% of the time, and I don't think we win that Buccaneers bet 60% of the time, and I don't think I ever thought we would. So that was stupid. I got too addicted to taking the points. I saw the plus 3.5 for the Bucs, and I was like, oh, that's sexy. And I should have just thought, who's going to win the fucking football games?
Well, we've learned a lot of lessons.
We've learned some lessons, and we fucking need them, because things have not gone our way these last 2 weeks, and that pisses me off because we were so hot to start.
Yeah, it was really felt pretty unbeatable for a moment there. But we end up 2-5 on the week. Our best bet drops to 5-2.
Bitch.
Which is sad. But we move on to week 7 with a new card and hope for winning week.
Make some picks?
Yeah, let's make some picks. And moving on to week 7, first up, we have on Thursday night, the Jacksonville Jaguars going to play the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are -1.5.
This is tough.
Yeah, I actually don't know what to do.
So Trevor Lawrence, knee, probably going to play, but might not. They just signed a third quarterback in case. I think he's going to play. He won't be as mobile, which is actually a pretty decent part of his game.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
They are in a dome, though, which means that Lawrence will be more comfortable.
Do you think he's going to have arthritic response to the 70-degree weather in Jacksonville?
Well, it would probably rain in Jacksonville.
Fair.
At least some point during that game.
This is really fucking tough, because it's actionable as all hell.
Absolutely.
So the Saints play man defense really well. The Jaguars have Calvin Ridley, who is theoretically a man beater. Although, remember in the summer when everybody's talking about how Calvin Ridley is elite and he's going to really pull this Jags offense to the next level? It turns out he's just been Christian Kirk, exactly like I said. They are the same player, which is a good player.
Yeah, absolutely.
I liked Christian Kirk a hell of a lot more than anybody else when he was in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. You did.
Technically, you got two man beaters, and then you got Evan Ingram, who's a matchup problem at tight end. Travis Etienne is leads the NFL in touches, actually.
Really?
Yeah, they use him for everything. And he is good enough that it's deserved. He is quiet. He's probably the most underrated running back. I love him.
It's just because you got drafted when Urban was there and then didn't play.
Yeah, and it's Jacksonville.
That's true.
There's barely enough attention to give Trevor Lawrence because of Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, nobody even remembers that Trayvon Walker got picked.
Well, that's also because he stinks.
Well, sure.
Point being, they have quick athletes, and quickness is how you beat man typically. Their offensive line's not great. Saints' defensive line's not great. There are reasons to bet Jacksonville. However, the Saints are so underrated. Derek Carr is so underrated. If they ever stop throwing the ball to Taysom Hill, this is a rant I've given 3 times in the last week, and I'll summarize it real quick. The Saints go out of their way to create gimmick plays to get Taysom Hill the ball or to throw Taysom Hill jump balls. Rashid Shaheed's arguably the best receiver in the NFL with the ball in his hands. Why would you make a gimmick play to give Taysom Hill the ball with the ball in his hands instead of Rashid Shaheed? Additionally, if you want to throw a jump ball, let me introduce you to Michael Thomas, who is exclusively in the NFL because of his ball-winning abilities. And he's really good at it. So maybe if you want to throw a jump ball, throw it to him. And finally, if you want to run a deep route, streak, a post, a corner, instead of doing it to Taysom Hill, certainly not Tyreek Hill, may I introduce you to Chris Olave, one of the best deep ball merchants in the NFL. Extremely good release, great tracking ability, and real speed. Fuck Taysom Hill. All my homies hate Taysom Hill. I have no use for Taysom Hill.
Fuck Taysom Hill.
You know what they say about jacks of all trades? They should be slaughtered like cows.
That's the first time I've heard that one, but...
Oh, it's a very popular saying.
Does that happen a lot on the Patreon? You put that in with a lot of the picks?
Yeah.
Free Patreon.
Free Patreon, but I actually don't endorse the slaughtering of cows. I do actually.
You eat exclusively steak. You are the biggest endorser of the slaughtering of cows.
I haven't had a steak in 2 days.
I can see your hands are shaking.
Where was I? The Saints piss me off. But
They do.
But they're better than people think.
I agree, but we keep doing this.
And
what's our history on betting on the Saints?
While you're figuring that out, the Jaguars piss me off because people think Trevor Lawrence is special, and he's barely okay. Like, he's continued to be not so great. Although they did seem to be getting their fucking groove back against the Colts. Fuck it. We shouldn't bet on this game. But we should have a take. It's the first good Thursday night game in a minute.
I think you're right, honestly. So the Saints, we have bet on them. We bet on them in week 2 when they pushed. We bet on them in week 3 when they covered. We did not bet on them week 4. Were they on a bye? I don't know. Week 5, we bet on them and they covered. Week 6, we bet on them and they did not cover.
So we're 2-1-1 and should be 4-0 betting on the Saints.
But at a certain point, you have to start considering the should as just part of betting on the Saints.
When you have a bad kicker and your coaching is suboptimal, you're gonna get fucked. The Saints are a team ripe for the fucking you.
They really are.
I'm so glad we can swear on the YouTube. Okay, we're not betting this game because it's too much variance. However, I'm ready to say it, Saints.
I think
Nobody wants to bet the Saints.
If we were going to bet anything, I think you're right. It would be Saints. But at least on Thursday, we don't need to make that decision.
No, Thursdays
yet.
are crazy, and Thursdays between two very evenly matched teams that are fun to watch. Well, that are big names.
Entertaining.
That are decent teams. Two decent teams that are evenly matched on Thursday night. Fuck this shit, especially with an injured quarterback. We're not betting, but we lean New Orleans next game.
On to Sunday. First up, we have the Cleveland Browns going to play the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are +3, or you can get Browns -2.5. PJ Walker is likely playing.
Certainly playing. Deshaun Watson had one mediocre game and said, that's it, I'm going out, riding into the sunset.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that we shouldn't expect him definitely for the next 3 weeks.
Remember 2 weeks ago when he should have never missed a game because he was medically cleared to play but didn't feel like it? This man owns the Browns.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I was a fan of the Browns and cared about the future health of Deshaun Watson and everything, this is the right choice to make. Let him sit.
No.
And get his shoulder healthy.
Do you know why I say no?
Well, because he's not actually good.
No. If you believe he's great, if you believe he's fucking great, you need him to play because this is your only shot. Because next year's cap hit is $63 million. So this is the load-up year. Your defense is elite. Deshaun Watson he's been rusty for a year and a half now. Missing a couple games is only going to make him rustier. He needs to play, get in the swing of things, because this is the year.
Sure, but if he goes out and does what Baker did to himself?
If he dies, he dies. This year is all that matters. Next year, it doesn't matter. Who is going to be left on the team with a $63 million cap hit?
You know they'll just keep restructuring forever.
Yeah, but if you restructure him 2 more times, he literally owns the state of Ohio. That's the rules.
Yeah, and he doesn't want it. He'll sell it right back. You think he's going to be in there for a second longer than his contract runs?
Touché.
Anyway, PJ Walker.
Bad.
Correct. But will Indianapolis and Gardner Minshew be able to score on this Browns defense?
Not a single time. Cleveland is obviously the side here. I hate it.
I tend to agree with you. I think Cleveland in Indy, they're going to be inside.
No pass rush from Indy. No defensive backs from Indy. So PJ Walker will have the easiest time he could ever theoretically have. On the other side, Indy entire offensive line, not decimated anymore, but still banged up. Myles Garrett is Myles Garrett. Gardner Minshew, he had his good game, and that's it. Last week he sucked. Back on the inept list. I don't want to bet this game. I'd like to keep it as a maybe, but Cleveland is the side. And the only reason that we have value is because people believe that PJ Walker's a massive downgrade from Deshaun Watson. I don't quite see it that way. I think this is just what the Cleveland Browns are going to have to deal with all year. And Kareem Hunt looked okay.
I mean, the offense was pretty useless outside of
But it should
two
be
drives.
It should be when you play the 49ers.
That's true.
Like they performed about as well against the 49ers as Watson had them performing against anybody. And by performed, I mean produced.
Yeah. All right, I'm in. Let's go for it. Cleveland -2.5. They've got an elite unit. Nobody else. There are no other elite units in this game.
I'm not cha-chinging it, but I will definitely hard maybe it. I just want to see how this card lays out because I haven't done my homework.
That's fair. And, I mean, it's the second game.
Yeah. All right, let's do the next one.
Moving on. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills going to play the New England Patriots. The Bills are -8.5.
So the Bills really disappointed against the Giants last week.
They did.
But the Patriots are not an NFL team.
Correct.
They lost to the Raiders, and the Raiders were missing Jimmy G for half the game. Not that Jimmy G's anything special, but fuck, man. I don't think there's any hope for New England other than, unfortunately, Drake May. And God, I'm hoping they win like 2 more games, dude.
Do you think you can do anything with 8.5?
Hell no. This is a leg, though.
Yeah.
Problem is, I don't think I see another leg to go with it, but it's a leg.
I agree. And honestly, our legs haven't been doing that well anyway. Our parlays are not parlaying.
Well, fuck. I mean, you're right, and it's cost me real money. But I trust the Bills to beat their arch-rival Patriots because they always do.
They should, yeah. I agree. Well, let's move on. Next up, we have the Las Vegas Raiders heading to play the Chicago Bears. The Bears are +3.
Pain. This is a backup quarterback bowl. We don't even get to see Jimmy G come home because he's in the hospital with back problems. Tyson Bagent is probably as good as Justin Fields, which is not good enough. Fun fact about Tyson Bagent, his dad is a 19-time world champion arm wrestler. I watched a ton of his arm wrestling competitions yesterday. It was fun.
Really?
Yeah, his dad's name is... what are other cool guy names that start with a T?
Todd.
No, that's not a cool guy. Todd is a stepfather. Todd wears a cardigan.
I was just upset you gave me the letter because I was going to go Keith.
Keith is much more the vein I'm looking at.
I don't know.
Something with a T, the Beast Bagent.
Very cool. Good to know. Do you think that is relevant for this game at all?
No, but there's nothing to talk about in this fucking game.
Yeah, I don't. Even though it's 3 and it's incredibly actionable, it's backup quarterbacks. The weather actually looks like it'll be fine, but I don't know. I don't want to talk about
Travis.
that. Is that a cool guy name?
Travis Bagent. Hell yeah, Travis is a cool guy name. Don't be dissuaded because Travis Kelce's become a cornball.
I still love him. And the coolest thing you can do is be an absolute cornball and not care.
I meant cornball in a different sense, as a euphemism for words that are bad.
Oh, okay. I figured you meant like corny.
He's corny, but in the black sense.
We're going to go ahead and move on to the next game before Joe gets himself into trouble.
He's a sellout. You can't pretend to be black for your whole life, and then the second Taylor Swift comes around, now you're stepdad levels of nerdy.
I tried.
We're keeping on going. I'm not cutting it.
Next up, we have the Washington Commanders going to play the New York Giants. The Giants are +3 or Washington -2.5.
All right, this is one of the ones I actually like and have bet. Washington's remember when I said we need to not be so high on Washington because their performance against Atlanta is going to be overrated? Well, this line didn't move because the Giants overperformed on SNF, Sunday Night Football. So, let's go.
Yeah, I'm with you. Washington, not a good team. Giants, bad team. 2.5 points, I'm in.
Is this our best bet?
I mean, at this point it is,
no,
but fuck.
This is our best bet.
Ooh.
I see the one that you're thinking, and it's tempting.
Is
it next?
It is.
Okay, let's do it fucking combo then. What's the next game?
Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons going to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs are -2.5.
Which, again, hasn't moved off of last week.
Let me go check about the weather in Tampa Bay.
Always important. While he's doing that, I'm going to talk about Washington versus the Giants. Every time I look at the abbreviation for the Giants, I almost get in trouble because I like to read abbreviations, such as whoosh for the Redskins. Redskins' offensive line is clearly the problem. Weather?
What game are we talking about?
Weather for the Tampa game.
You just talked about the...
I'm doing both.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
We're comparing to figure out which one will be best.
Okay. I got confused. I was like, wait a second. Weather is going to be lovely. It's going to be in the 70s and sunny.
Barstool's got a weather girl. I've got Alex.
I'm prettier.
This time around, hell yes. Anyway, Washington's weakness is what? Their offensive line, aside from their entire defense. But it's their offensive line. It stinks. Luckily, the Giants' defensive line is extremely underwhelming. Interior, Dexter Lawrence, still very good. But the rest, dude, Kayvon Thibodeau is dancing that line of, like, I'm ready to just say not worth his draft status.
I really hope so, because he's a piece of shit human, and I want all bad things to happen to him.
I heard I got some intel about his pre-draft interviews. I'll tell you after we finish the pod.
I can't wait.
Real shithead human.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked based off of just some of the stuff he's done on the field and ways he's talked. He's a bad person.
So, enough about his bad person, more about his bad football. It means Sam Howell will be clean, and if Sam Howell's clean, he'll only eat 2 sacks that he doesn't need to take, but he will also dice up a weak secondary. A secondary that really hasn't come along the way I hoped it might have. Additionally, since benching Emmanuel Forbes, the Redskins defense looks less coverage bust prone. Like last week, Emmanuel Forbes didn't play, and yes, it's the Falcons, but they do have some good receivers, and they actually do run really good passing concepts, but there were no obvious glaring busted coverages for the first time this year. And that's a big deal.
That is very important.
Even if Emmanuel Forbes does play, he actually looked okay when playing against bad receivers. He looked really bad when he played against A.J. Brown, and when he played against... Who torched? Oh, DJ Moore. Those are 2 good receivers that are very quick. The Giants just don't have that. They have Darius Slayton, but he'll drop the ball, and they don't throw to him anyway. So I think that everything lines up for Washington to not be exploited at their weaknesses, and then Washington is just a clearly better team. So I love that game.
I do too, actually. And looking at these injury reports, just did not practice. And again, it's Wednesday, so they still got a couple days, but did not practice Evan Neal, Matt Pert, Wan'Dale Robinson, Andrew Thomas, John Michael Schmitz.
Yeah,
so their offensive line.
They're missing 3 of their offensive linemen. They're starting Justin Pugh, who I thought retired 2 years ago. And he has openly been like, yeah, I was basically sitting on my couch retired. And then the Giants called, and I was like, well, because it's the Giants.
Right. And then, I mean, it looks like Saquon and Daniel Jones might play this week, or they should both be playing.
I don't think Daniel Jones makes the Giants better than Tyrod. I think they're almost identical caliber quarterbacks, although they play differently. I actually think they would both be better if they switched skill sets or brains. Like, I think that Tyrod's brain matches up with Daniel Jones's skill set better, and I think that Daniel Jones's brain matches up with Tyrod's skill set better.
That's interesting.
Well, all fucking Daniel Jones wants to do is run and throw deep, and he sucks at throwing deep.
No, as you're talking about it, it makes sense, but it's interesting.
And Tyrod is a huge pussy who will not throw downfield. All he wants to do is check it down, but he's not accurate enough to hit that second level. But Daniel Jones is awesome at the second level. So, regardless, I don't care about the quarterbacks. If Daniel Jones plays, his neck is going to be very sore. He's probably not going to want to run the way he typically would, and that's the only thing he does well, aside from throw to the second level, of course. And then Saquon, I don't think is anything.
Right.
I mean, the Giants literally re-signed Saquon this summer because the owner was afraid of the branding if they didn't.
Yeah, like they wanted to move on.
And they should have.
Yeah.
He's nothing.
Absolutely. There's no point in paying a aging running back that isn't that great to begin with.
And cannot stay healthy.
Absolutely cannot stay healthy.
And it's not like all those injuries didn't affect his game. He was an explosive athlete with no mental ability to play running back, and now he's no longer an explosive athlete to the same extent. He's still explosive, but not like that. Again, Evan Neal stinks, so replacing him actually isn't that big of a deal, but it's just, can the replacements reach core competence? Because when you go to 3 backup offensive linemen, do they understand the playbook? Are they gelling with the other 2 starting offensive linemen? You know, it's not about, are these other guys good? It's about, do these other guys know what they're supposed to do? You know? Like, you could go get Jason Peters today, and he could start for the Giants tomorrow, and he'd be the best offensive lineman on the team outside of Andrew Thomas, but he wouldn't know what he's supposed to do, so it wouldn't be that helpful, you know?
Yeah.
So I love the Redskins too much in this game. The only reason that I'm not slamming my fist on the table saying best bet is because it feels too easy. And I'm scared because I haven't had a good week in a little bit.
That's fair. I mean, I like this one too, and I think we're right to.
It's certainly going to be our second pick if it's not our first. But do you have anything to add? Do you have any fears? Like, how am I wrong? If I'm wrong, why is it?
I don't know.
I don't either.
I mean, like, Washington, again, this is not some powerhouse team that we're like, oh, hell yeah. But they at least have a very good defensive line.
It's a little overrated, but it's good.
Sure.
And they're playing a terrible offensive line.
But they're playing a terrible offensive line, so Washington's greatest strength is now going to expose New York's greatest weakness.
It's a force multiplier.
Right.
It's super effective.
Now, Washington, the rest of their defense isn't very good.
At all.
But I'm not really worried about the Giants being able to do anything because, I mean, their skill players are not very good.
They're fine.
They're fine, but they're not great. They're not going to be doing anything to, like, overcome the wildly incompetent offensive line and either hurt bad quarterback or healthy backup quarterback.
The way we feel stupid for making this bet is if Brian Daboll, who we know to be a great coach, paints a masterpiece. What's the Giants' record?
I think they've won one game.
I also believe they have one win.
Yep, 1-5.
You think they give up at 1-5? With all of their offensive linemen hurt and their quarterback barely coming back from injury?
Maybe. I don't know. It feels early for give up, but I don't know. Their season is obviously completely fucking turned.
Their season is already a disappointment because they thought they were going to win like 10 games. And there's not really 10 games left to win.
Do you think the Vikings gave up?
No, because the Vikings are in a bad division where they can absolutely make a wild card spot, whereas the Giants are fucked. And also, the Vikings have twice as many wins.
Well, they do now, yeah.
If the Vikings would have lost to the Bears in devastating fashion on a last-second play that they feel they got jobbed on last week, yeah, I think they'd give up.
That's fair.
Like last week, we were talking about have the Vikings given up. The Giants were in the exact same spot. The Giants now have a hurt quarterback who they probably don't quite believe in anymore, a decimated offensive line, and they believe they just got screwed by the refs out of beating one of their arch rivals, their in-state rival, in prime time.
They may have gotten a little screwed on it too,
And
but
they
you're
probably
right.
got a little screwed.
You know, I'm in. Let's do Washington, obviously, but we got to talk about how they compare to Tampa. I think after painting that picture, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think about is we just liked Washington and they just beat the Falcons.
Yeah.
And now we have Tampa at home playing the Falcons.
Better defense. Way better defense.
Way better defense.
You can't run on Tampa.
And that's the only thing Atlanta can do because Desmond Ridder is a saboteur. So we don't even, like, the issue with Tampa in my brain is that Baker's a little inconsistent because Baker can turn in a game where you're like, holy shit, this guy's a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah.
But then he can also turn in a game where you're like, wow, all the things people say about you are right.
Yeah, you're a game manager. Like against the Lions, he was a game manager.
Yeah. And so he's normally your worry, but fuck, the Falcons are bad, man. I don't know if I worry about anything.
Do you see Arthur Smith's reactions to Desmond Ridder playing quarterback last week?
They're hilarious.
They were hilarious, but I also think they're telling. I think there's something to grab from them. We're not the only ones who see Desmond Ridder sucking ass. And we're not the only ones who keep track of what the difference between inept and saboteur is. So it's one thing if you think, Desmond Ridder really can't do anything. We got to throw checkdowns because that's all he can handle. It's the only thing we can actually function with. It's another thing to think, fuck, I don't know if we can run checkdowns. He might throw another pick. Because a lot of his... Dude, it's bad when you can say this sentence. A lot of his pickables last week were on relatively simple plays such as goal line fades and drags.
That's terrible.
Anytime you can say a lot of his pickables last week, fire it into the sun, cleanse it with fire. It's bad. So I think that the Falcons are going to lean into their run game out of fear. And you don't want to run against the Buccaneers because it's the one thing they stop really, really well. On the other side, you're not going to have a fierce pass rush, so Baker will have time. On the other side, you're not going to have good corners, so the Buccaneers receivers will be open. And on the other side, you gotta hope Baker gets his head back on straight after a humbling loss. Because, well, you're totally right. Baker isn't consistent. Because sometimes he looks incredible and sometimes he just really proves the haters right. I think that helps us in this game. 1, everybody who's been waiting all season to dunk on Baker finally got their first chance to be as low on Baker as they've ever been, which is why this line didn't move despite the Falcons absolutely shitting on themselves. 2, Baker has actually been consistent this year. In his first 4 games before the bye, he was literally great in every single one of the games. And it's mostly because he played really consistent, really mistake-free ball. In this most recent game, he didn't play consistent mistake-free ball. And I think he's going to get back to it. So it's going to come down to... This is a very telling game for Baker because the Falcons' defense is actually decent. But 1, we only need the Buccaneers to score 13 points.
Probably.
And 2, I'm expecting a bounce back.
Both teams are pretty healthy as well. I think Tampa, the only person they had was limited was Vita Vea, and he was limited.
Yeah, Vita Vea is always limited because he's huge and doesn't want to practice.
Yeah, and his joints don't need that much extra stress. Calais Campbell also did not practice for the Falcons, but for the same reason.
Yeah, he got his 100th sack. He needs time to recuperate.
Yeah.
He's 40.
Those were the only people. So it's kind of the opposite of Washington and the Giants, where everyone is hurt in some form. Everyone's pretty healthy. I do worry a little bit about scoring points. I think this is going to be definitely an under game. Well, unless
because it's going to be a quick game too.
Unless Desmond Ridder throws 2 pick sixes or starts giving them a bunch of short fields, which is very possible.
Not unheard of.
And that's why I think over-unders are stupid. But
I just thought of a great angle. Buccaneers defense, pass defense is like their weaker spot.
Right.
Drake London is the only real receiver that the Falcons have because Kyle Pitts is a fraud. 1, Kyle Pitts is going to get lined up on Levante David.
Love it.
Top 5 coverage linebacker. Top 3? It's Fred Warner 1. But after that, it's up for discussion, especially with Matt Milano dead.
I was about to say.
And then Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis are both big corners who match up really well with Drake London.
All right. So it seems like we just love both of these bets.
We do.
Do you just want to do dual best bets?
Kinda. I kinda want to do Washington for 3 units and this game for 2 units.
I'd be okay with that.
But let's play it out.
The only thing that I worry about with doing that is we're really going on fucking tilt after 2 bad weeks.
That's kind of how I want to bet this personally. For more information, see the free Patreon.
Patreon
isn't free if you want the picks.
Sure, but
it's free for the other stuff.
It is a free Patreon, just with additional add-ons that
Freemium.
You can purchase.
Yeah, in-app purchases. But I kind of like doing the 3-2 unit thing here. We haven't done a 3-unit bet yet this year. But, dude, it's the fucking beaten down, broken, demoralized Giants versus the Redskins, who nobody seems to notice are actually kind of good.
All right. You know what? I'm
fine. We got a lot more games.
Yeah, we do. So we can come back, but definitely lock those 2 in.
We got a cha-ching, cha-ching.
It's a double.
Because we like both of them. Keep it rolling. I like this next game, too.
And for the final game in the noon slate, we have the Detroit Lions going to play the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are -3.
I'm going to take a little tangent. You could tell me if we should cut this. Amazon keeps on advertising that Amazon Web Services and AI designed the NFL schedule this year, and they should stop telling people that because it's really poorly done. All the good games are at noon. Every 3 o'clock game sucks ass all year. The primetime games mostly suck ass. And this week there are 6 teams on a bye. Next week there are 0. I think Amazon fucking sucks, dude. Every time I'm like, AI might ruin the world, AI goes ahead and just is not competent at all. And I think that the more disappointing thing is just that we're letting it do that. And nobody ever stopped to be like, wait a second, there's no football games in week 7.
I was shocked how quickly I went last game of the noon slate.
Yeah.
What are there, 5 games, 6 games?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 6 noon games.
So, Amazon, I would tell you to fix your shit, but you should actually just fold. Redistribute your money. I hate monopolies. I'm a capitalist. I hate monopolies. So, that's the segment maybe we'll cut. Should we cut it?
I think it's fine to leave in.
Yeah.
All my homies hate Amazon.
The homies do hate Amazon. Cleanse it with fire. The theme of the day. Speaking of which, we forgot to do the inept list, but when we get to an inept quarterback, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Detroit at Baltimore?
Detroit at Baltimore. Detroit +3. Just need to...
Another line that hasn't moved. All right. I lean away a certain way. I'm scared. I'm specifically scared of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, so my lean is Detroit.
Totally.
Because they've got such a good offensive line.
Incredible.
And Ben Johnson is so good.
Fantastic.
that they're making everything so easy and clear and clean for Jared Goff
Truly remarkable.
that he looks very good.
If you don't know what you're looking at, the offense looks clean, which makes Jared Goff look good.
And I think Jamison Williams, him getting up to speed and being the player we thought he was,
He looks like himself.
it adds a whole other aspect to this team.
If and when Jamison Williams becomes Jamison Williams, like the man he was supposed to be, not the injured and suspended version, he's better than Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
And they still have Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, so I think they're a good fucking team that's playing really well.
Their weakest link is their perfectly replacement level starter quarterback. Like
I think their corners are also bad, but
I'm talking offense.
okay.
On offense, their Dak caliber quarterback is the weak part.
Absolutely.
That's dumb in a good way for the Lions. That being said, they did struggle mightily to move the ball against the Buccaneers. 17 true points.
I think the Bucs D is decent though.
It's good. So's the Ravens.
I think they're good in different ways.
The Ravens are probably the most brilliantly defensively coordinated team I've seen in a few years. This Irish guy, I forget his name, McDonald? He had a farm. Really, really good defensive coordinator. A lot of exotic blitzes. Jadeveon Clowney looks legit again. He is screaming off. He's pass rushing well. That's how you know it's all going well for him. They're using Kyle Hamilton almost exclusively as a linebacker and edge. That's how you use a Kyle Hamilton. Good job. Marcus Williams looks like himself. Excellent free safety after a weird year last year. They're going to continue to hold on both sides of the ball every play. It won't be called 90% of the time. It's a cheat. It works. Baltimore wins with quick passing. I don't trust Lamar to continue to be solid at it. In the last 2 weeks, he's gotten a B from me.
Yeah, he's had 2 good games in a row.
Yeah, a B is a good game in my grading. Anything above a B is great. So I've never given Lamar 2 consecutive Bs before, ever. So we believe that either 1, he's materially changed because this offense is different and he's good at it, or 2, he's already lucky to have strung this together and he is headed for a fall. Additionally, the Lions, let's talk about the Lions defense. Aiden Hutchinson has arrived. He is the best Bosa brother, as I predicted. He is. It's exactly how he plays. He is the best Bosa brother because he is the most athletic.
Why do all the good white defensive ends have to run like they're just learning how to run?
Oh, God, I've seen the videos as well.
Aiden Hutchinson, Bosa, both the Bosas.
I think I know why they do it.
They look so unorthodox.
I think
it's
I know
wild
why
to
they do
me.
it.
It's like Gary Barnidge running around.
They run with a super wide gate because then a quarterback can't easily step up and through them. They're more agile. They're sacrificing a little speed to get a stable base. Or, and that's got autism.
It's very possible. I mean, Max Crosby doesn't run like that, though.
Max Crosby
He looks like an athlete.
Max Crosby is a freak with a wingspan that is literally 7 feet. You can't step up and through him. He will grab you. Whereas Aiden Hutchinson has relatively short arms. So do the Bosa brothers. But all 3 of them have really, really quick feet. None of them have... Max Crosby is the second best defensive end in the league. These guys are not that, but they're as close as you get. I think Joey Bosa is the worst. I think Nick Bosa is second best, and I think that Aiden Hutchinson is the 3rd best rusher in the league.
Wow, really? Already?
Dude, who the hell is better?
I think people would say Bosa, Watt, Micah Parsons.
I wouldn't say either of them. Oh, Micah. Micah is so one-dimensional, though.
He is.
I would put Micah 4. I think you have to give it to Miles just because he's putting together a great year. And Max Crosby is number 1 every year before this year ahead of Miles. So Miles, Crosby, Hutch.
We've detoured pretty heavily, but
we're
the Detroit
weeds.
D-line...
So Detroit D-line, it has 1 stud and then like 8 dudes who can play. The Aquara brothers can play. Bugs in the middle has been surprisingly good. I thought he would be a decent starter. He's been like good starter. And then James Houston actually hasn't been that great. Turns out his 6 sacks in like 6 games last year was a little bit of a small sample size fluke, but he's still a very effective player. Like, he's very useful. The Ravens' offensive line is decent, but it gets beat, especially with speed, and that's what the Lions have a lot of. And the Lions play a lot of zone. In fact, they play a lot of cover 3. That's a little tricky. You can't run against it, even with a quarterback, because everybody's got their eyes on the quarterback. However, you also can't throw short against it, or you can throw short against it easily because cover 3 means everybody's backing off. You got linebackers in space. So I don't think you get a real advantage on the defense. I think it's going to be a pretty even matchup. Flip to the other side of the ball. You got Genius OC versus Genius DC. Fuck. This is a very even game. Do we take the Lions simply because they're catching points? In an even-ass game. And we take the Lions... If we take the Lions, it's because they're catching points in an even game that we totally think they could win. And, on top of that, we are assuming Jared Goff will play average, but we're only afraid of Baltimore if Lamar continues to play better than we've ever seen him play.
True. My worry with it, one of my worries, is that Detroit really has not... Their cornerbacks are not good. Their secondary is not very good, and that scares me.
Well, so...
I know cover 3, you're backing off, you're allowing stuff in front of you.
Safe and insulating, and Cam Sutton is decent. He's a solid corner in zone. He's been decent. But there were a lot of plays where Baker missed open deep shots, and there's a reason for that.
And
they were open for a reason.
And Lamar has been hitting a lot of those deep shots.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
He's been really good with the deep ball to a certain extent.
And a lot better with the deep ball.
Right.
Fuck. This is a tough game.
Yeah. Now, I will say injury-wise, Marcus Williams did not practice with a hamstring injury, and Jadeveon Clowney...
Clowney will play.
Yeah, they said it's more rest. They had his knee, but...
He's in his 30s. He's not practicing unless he feels like it.
Now, Jonah Jackson for the Lions did not practice.
Yeah, but I don't care because their offensive line depth is stupid.
Yeah. So I don't think there's too much injury-wise either. I don't know. I lean just going with the Lions and taking the points.
Take the points with evenly matched teams. Got a better offensive coordinator.
You have 2 smart head coaches that are analytically inclined. They're going to play aggressive in late-game situations.
You got 2 teams with, well, the Lions kicker is decent. Okay. Kicking advantage, Baltimore, in a close game actually matters.
It does.
Head coaches, I would say, are a wash. Offensive coordinators, I would say Ben Johnson wins by a substantial margin. Defensive coordinators, I would say that McDonald wins by a substantial margin. Offensive coordinators are more important than defensive coordinators. Advantage, super tiny, Detroit. Offense, the line matchups, the Lions win probably on both sides of the ball.
I agree.
Fuck, dude. Yeah, the Lions are the slight lean, and they're catching 3. They're at the least a maybe.
Yeah, I looked up weather. It looks like it'll be dry 50s.
Yeah, the Lions can play in 50-degree weather. They still live in Michigan. Yeah, fuck. It's a maybe, but it's probably making it on the list.
Yeah.
Cha-ching?
Yeah, let's cha-ching it. Why not?
No, cha-ching with a question mark. Cha-ching. We'll figure it later in the summary if we like it. We cha-ching it hard.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to the 3 o'clock hour. First up, we have the Arizona Cardinals going to play the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are minus 7.5 or Cardinals plus 8.
It's week 7, right?
Yeah.
Kyler Murray comes back next week.
I was about to say, I saw they opened his practice window.
This is Josh Dobbs' swan song. I don't want to bet against it.
I don't either. I'm not thrilled to, and it's 8 points.
Do we leg it? I kind of don't want to leg it.
In Seattle, I feel more comfortable.
Yeah. I get a bad feeling about this game.
There's a 30% chance of rain on Sunday in Seattle.
The Rams did just skull the Cardinals.
Don't the Rams normally skull the Cardinals, though?
They normally skull the Seahawks.
See, I thought they normally skulled the Cardinals, and then the 49ers skulled the Rams.
No. The 49ers skull the Rams skull the Seahawks skull the 49ers.
Okay, there it is.
The Cardinals don't matter. They
don't.
are outside of the skull circle. Oh, fuck, dude. It should be a leg.
Yeah.
But I don't want to leg it.
You could leg it.
Maybe leg. Next game. We're spending too much time on a leg.
Absolutely. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers going to play the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are minus 3.
Slight line movement. It used to be Rams minus 2. Do you like it?
Not really. Just because Pittsburgh's one ability on defense is Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt.
Yep.
And that is the weakest aspect of the Rams.
This
and
is
what could
exactly what I was thinking.
Tank an entire game for them. So even though it's super actionable,
I
don't really want to bet on it.
You flip to the other side too, and it's Aaron Donald with some dudes from Walmart against a weak Pittsburgh offensive line. But if you give them time, Kenny Pickett will realize that George Pickens is indeed open. Also, Rams just lost their starting number 1 cornerback to gun charges.
Not ideal.
It is LA, and they don't prosecute gun crimes there, but he probably won't be cleared to play this week. We're talking about Darion Kendrick, of course, who was pulled over and arrested for having an unregistered handgun in his car after the game last week, on his way home from the game last week. That's tough to do. But SoFi Stadium is in Compton. I understand. Again, it's actionable. It's a lien. I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't bet on this game right now. I don't think we have to either, so I'm not going to force the issue.
Fair.
Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers going to play the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are +1.
I think I have a lien that I don't like.
What is it?
I think I like the Broncos.
I could see it.
This is a good way to do this. Jordan Love left the inept list last week to join the saboteur list. Because when you throw interceptions as bad as the ones he threw against the Raiders, you are hurting your team. More like you are actively helping the other team. On the other hand, Russell Wilson isn't quite a saboteur. He's just inept. He can't do anything. But they know that, and he's not going to hurt them. He's not throwing picks, mostly. It's more so just that he can't run the offense. Additionally, there's an answer for the Broncos. Whether it is just make Russ run the ball until he gets hurt, or alternatively, if Sean Payton wakes up and is intelligent, he could decide to start Jarrett Stidham, who's way fucking better than either of the starting quarterbacks in this game, and easily win this game. And I think it's got to be at least on the table after the way that Russ has played.
I still think it's too early to make that shift.
I think
they'll
wait to the bye.
Especially given that they just gave him so much money.
I know. And once you bench him, it's over.
Yeah, like you can't bring him back from that. So once they make that decision, it's kind of final. Now, can't they get out of the contract next year with like $30 million in dead cap or something?
I think it's doable to get out after this year.
Yeah, so like, you know, they could say, screw it. Like, this was obviously a fuck up.
I think they will certainly say screw it at some point this year. I think the idea is just you got to wait until you're ready to trade Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, and they're not right now, apparently.
Yeah.
Both of these teams really suck. The Packers can theoretically run the ball, but it hasn't been as great as I thought it would be.
No.
A.J. Dillon kind of sucks.
He does.
Is Aaron Jones healthy? Because he doesn't.
The only person that did not practice today for the Green Bay Packers was Devondre Campbell. Aaron Jones, limited participant.
Okay.
So I don't know.
That takes me off this bet. Aaron Jones could legitimately be the Packers' offense.
Yeah.
And if Russell Wilson doesn't get benched in this game, this could be the game that gets him benched. Fuck it. Bad game. Don't talk. Next game.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of a continuation of the Pittsburgh Rams game. We don't need it.
Yeah, it's too close to be this shitty.
Now, to round out the 3 o'clock hour, we have the Los Angeles Chargers going to play the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are -5.5.
One, thank God there's actually a watchable 3 o'clock game this week.
Yeah.
Two, Tua Stans today told me that, LOL, I shouldn't speak on football because if you look at my charts about Tua, I still call the Chargers San Diego, so I don't even know what city they play in, so clearly I'm stupid.
They got you there.
The logic is... My response was like, oh, you guys are small children, because that's a small child response.
It is.
And then they piled on me telling me I'll never get a good job if I'm going to be that mean and condescending to people. I literally dropped my phone in awe. I was sitting at my desk at my decent job, and I dropped my phone on my desk.
Did you tender your resignation? Because obviously you're not allowed to have that job because of how mean you are.
I'm so stupid it didn't even cross my mind.
Unacceptable. Send the email now. I'll watch.
That's okay. Anyhow, the Chargers disappointed me last weekend, but also did exactly what I thought they would do. I got emotional. I didn't want to bet against Justin Herbert because I love him and he scares me because he's very good. But you were totally fucking right. I knew the Cowboys would typically win that game, and it played out just like I thought it would, just like you thought it would. But I got in the way with my heart.
No, admittedly, Justin Herbert and the Chargers had a lot of chances to win that game.
They did.
And they totally could have won that game.
Herbert did fuck up.
I think Herbert just didn't have a great game.
He had like a C game.
Now,
very similar to, like, seriously, carbon copy of Baker.
Going into this game, do you think that this is just a thing that's happening to Herbert right now because he's on a bad team and his hand is broken and Brandon Staley consistently sabotages their team? Or do you think that was an aberration?
I think
tough week against a good D.
Occasionally you have a bad game, especially against a good pass rush.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs' defense is good. How do you bet on a team like the Chargers? We're not betting on this game.
No, we can't.
But just handicapping it because it's going to be a very good game or an interesting game. How do you bet on a team like the Chargers that has no real receiving threat to speak of? Like Keenan Allen's their guy that they force feed the ball to. He's 30, probably runs a 5-second 40, and he's only 6'2", without ball winning skills. Like, he's not a jump ball guy. He can't jump high enough. And that's all they have. And how do you get open against Algerius Sneed, top 5 corner, and Trent McDuffie, top 10 corner, without any receivers? I don't know. The defense sucks, but Patrick Mahomes also has sucked this year. Patrick Mahomes has legit been below average this year. Like, not below average for Mahomes, I mean below average for a starter. He's been Goff level in a very different way. Goff because he doesn't do anything special, Mahomes because he makes a ton of mistakes. I think Kansas City wins because they always win. But I don't think it's comfy, and I think this is not a good football game. I think this is a lot of bad football.
If I had to pick in this game, I'd probably go with the Chargers.
Because you're getting 6?
Because, yeah, you're getting 5.5 points, and I think it's going to be a close game. And it may end on a touchdown or something like that, where it does make it a 6 or 7 point game, and you lose by half a point, and it's terrible. But I don't know, this strikes me as kind of similar to last week in that the Chiefs are not a complete superpower. They have weaknesses, but are still a really good team that are one of the better in the league. So I like them to win, but it's not like the Chargers can't do anything against them. I don't know. I agree. Don't bet on it.
Don't bet on it. Logically, I think Kansas City wins. I also wouldn't be surprised to see Justin Herbert just ball the fuck out, A+ this game, win in narrow fashion, exciting fashion, and all of a sudden Brandon Staley is not fired anymore. But if the Chargers lose this game, he'll finish the season because the Chargers will never fire a coach mid-season, but he will be gone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of watching that game last week and how many times, or Monday, whenever we watched it, and how many times we're sitting there going, God, you have to fire Brandon Staley.
They never will.
And it's not going to change this week, and so your expectations of the Chargers should always be lower because Brandon Staley will ruin it.
Well, on that cheery note, sirens blaring in the background.
On to Sunday night.
We have a good game.
A very good game.
It's a good game. Yo, we should hit up the Birdwatcher. I'm not doing anything. I'm watching every game this weekend.
I don't think I have much going on Sunday either, so I should be down. All right, Sunday night, we have the Miami Dolphins going to play the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are -2.5.
I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and then we're both going to say which side we lean to.
Let me think for a second.
Tell me when you have it, and then we'll discuss and see if we change our minds. 3, 2, 1. Dolphins. Oh, dude. Okay, here's my theory. It's a battle of shitty quarterbacks.
Right.
Both teams rely on their great offenses led by sick receivers. Neither team has a secondary, but at least the Dolphins have safeties. Neither team has linebackers, but at least the Dolphins have Vic Fangio.
It helps.
The Eagles have a fucking sick defensive line, and the Dolphins have a mid offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Playing better.
Sure.
But still mid. Above mid. Mid plus.
I like it.
Medium rare. On the other side, the Dolphins have a medium rare defensive line. Is Jalen Phillips playing? Because he's sick, but that's kind of it. Christian Wilkins is good, not sick. Seiler is good, not sick. Brad Chubb is so replaceable.
Absolutely.
And then the Eagles have the second or third best offensive line in the entire NFL, even without Lane Johnson.
Jalen Phillips, full participant.
My man.
As was Chase Claypool.
Nah, I don't care about that.
Limited participant Jalen Ramsey.
I know, but I also don't care about that. I don't think he's playing. I don't think he can until next week, and also he's just not that good.
Connor Williams did not practice. Xavier Howard did not practice.
You know what? Xavier Howard being out actually is good because he sucks.
As far as the Eagles, they're a little beat up. Now we'll see what actually happens.
Well, Jalen Carter didn't play last week.
As far as did not practice, we have Devonta Smith with a hamstring, Bradley Roby with a shoulder, Lane Johnson with an ankle.
Oh, Lane Johnson's not playing.
And Reed Blankenship with ribs. Jalen Carter, Dallas Goedert, Darius Slay, Milton Williams were all limited, so they'll probably be playing.
They'll probably play, but they'll all be banged up. I would love to see Darius Slay play in this game because it means that Jalen Waddle and or Tyreek Hill will be 30 yards behind him.
Yeah.
I think that, Sean Desai is a disciple of Vic Fangio, too. I love Sean Desai. I really root for him. He was a decent coordinator in Chicago that didn't really get a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McDaniel's been practicing against Vic Fangio for 8 months now. He is going to devastate any disciple of Vic Fangio.
So let's talk about kind of the issue for Miami, which is Tua and his ability to complete passes.
Yeah, well...
I think he actually matches up kind of well against the Eagles relative to Tua.
How so?
Because I think Tua is better than the average quarterback in terms of sensing pressure and navigating the pocket.
He gets the ball out real quick, too.
So I think
this offense is made to be a one-read offense. You don't fucking think, look at the guy I told you to look at, throw the ball when you're supposed to throw it, don't pay attention to the rush, don't pay attention to the coverage, just do what I say.
Yeah, and then it's into his struggles are consistent accuracy to the second level.
Yeah, it's mostly just arm strength.
But the Eagles kind of fucking suck at covering, especially with over the middle of the field.
Oh, God, yeah. The linebackers and safeties are so weak. And that's exactly where they attack.
And that's where Miami, that's where Tua can struggle, is if you play a team that has really good linebackers and safeties and can muddle up that middle of the field, things go bad for him. Philly doesn't have that. So my biggest concern with Miami is always Tua, and I think this is a better matchup than, maybe an average game.
I'm going to say a thing. Birdwatcher, close your ears. You sweet, sweet man. I think Hurts might be worse than Tua.
Really?
No, but I would rather have Tua because he has velocity on his ball and Hurts doesn't, and they both suck ass. I think Hurts is probably a little better because of his legs, but, dude, these are shitty quarterbacks.
They are.
Hurts sucks. And a year ago, I actually had Hurts rated lower than Tua. I had him on the inept list at a 1.5. Now, I've bumped him to 2.2 as of the Super Bowl last year. Now I've got him down back at a 2. Tua is a 1.9. But I don't think that the legs are going to be enough in this game. And I think that Mike McDaniel is clearly better than Nick Sirianni and co. on offense. And the Dolphins have discovered a run game, and the Eagles can't stop the run.
The Dolphins really have figured out how to run the ball, and it doesn't matter that much who's actually running it.
And it's all wide. It's all speed, wide, Reggie Bush-style shit, which I love to see. It's exactly how I run the ball in Madden when I never run it. And that is the perfect running style to avoid sick defensive tackles. And it exploits weak linebackers. Fuck. I'm Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm in. I want to bet on the Dolphins.
Cha-ching?
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching! Sorry, that's my third ranked bet right now. I like this bet. I hate betting on Tua. I like this bet.
Yeah, normally I have to try and push my sober king on Joe, and today he's all about it.
You know what's going to happen?
Mike McDaniel's going to fall off the wagon and we're going to lose?
Fuck no. No. That's not the kind of poetic hell that I live in. Mike McDaniel's going to call a masterpiece game. Tua's going to throw for 3 air yards, 420 actual yards. And then Tuanon is going to shove spikes up my ass while I count the money that I make on them. And I still will be sad because there is no standard anymore. There is no justice in this world. There is only Mike McDaniel stealing success where it does not belong.
I love that man.
He's so goddamn smart. If you look at football as chess played with athletic pawns, it's much less frustrating to watch the genius coaches win even though they don't have queens. Because that's what they're doing. Mike McDaniel is playing chess, and instead of a queen, he has another pawn. His quarterback is not a queen, it's a pawn. And he still wins. And same with Shanahan. Nice catch.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, there are other coaches, such as, the Chargers, who have 2 queens. One of their pawns is a queen, and they just lose anyway.
They just sacrifice that queen at every possible chance.
We got one more game.
Let's talk about Monday night.
Yeah, fucking Monday, baby.
Fucking steak. To wrap up Week 7, we have the San Francisco 49ers going to play the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are +7.
Drop dead leg?
Yeah, I think the 49ers, I'm looking up their injury report just to make sure that the boys are playing. But after last week, no way did they lose to the fucking Vikings.
No.
They're going to be able to run all over them.
They will run all over them. The Vikings' defense is confusing but not good, and Kyle Shanahan obviates the need to think. So the 49ers are at a market advantage. They are also pissed off because they just lost a game they shouldn't have even lost.
True, but you do have the X factors of are Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, and Deebo Samuel going to play.
I actually don't care about Deebo at all. I don't think he's good.
That's fine.
I think that Ronnie Bell is just as good. And I know that sounds sacrilegious to a lot of people. Life's not Madden.
Trent Williams and CMC do matter,
They
though.
do matter. But I do think that the backup running back, Pierce? No, what's his name?
I don't know. I'm on injury duty.
He's got 2 last names. Hyphen guy.
You're going to make me look this up, too?
Yeah, you got to look it up.
My God.
You're Jamie.
I don't know the significance of that.
Joe Rogan's look-up guy is Jamie.
Don't do that to me. Unless you're going to pay me millions of dollars.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Tyrion Davis-Price.
Price, not Pierce. I was close. Yeah, he's decent, and the Vikings really suck. And Marcus Davenport's hurt, and Justin Jefferson's hurt, and they struggle against the Bears' defense. I mean, they didn't struggle, but it wasn't sick. And the 49ers' defense is way better. And Kevin O'Connell runs Shanahan's offense, so they know how to stop it. Yeah, fuck it, dude. I love the 49ers as a leg. 49ers, Bills, leg 'em. Love it. The drop-dead leg parlay's not working so hot lately.
It has not been.
But this one has to work because both teams are coming off of not working.
Yeah. I think that plays.
So we got a drop dead leg.
Woo!
I sang that one well enough that I don't need to cut it in this time.
I agree. All right, so to round out bets.
Wait, let me hit a break so I can timestamp at least the summary for people because nobody wants to hear us ramble for an hour and 23 minutes.
Sounds good.
Summary time.
So first up, we have Cleveland -2.5. I think that was the one we were most unsure of.
I mean, we got to add it.
But unless we want to do New Orleans.
Well, so Washington's our best bet. Tampa is our also maybe best bet. We like Miami. We need 2 more. Our maybes are Cleveland and Detroit.
And New Orleans.
Fuck that, dude. That's too much chaos.
I agree. I'm good with doing Cleveland and Detroit. I think those are the ones that I like the most out of the available picks.
The fears with Cleveland and Detroit are that Cleveland is too hype right now, and Detroit is also pretty hype right now. I don't fear Cleveland being too hype against the fucking Colts, dude.
I don't either.
We thought the Colts would be a 2-win team. They have Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough out there for the Colts. Fucking bad.
Also, Detroit might be hype, but Baltimore is always hype.
Baltimore is always hype.
And we're catching points. This is very simple. So, best bet, Washington -2.5.
Right.
Second best bet, real close call, Tampa -2.5.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are, never mind. Miami +3, or is it 2.5?
2.5.
Fuck.
Yeah, I know.
Miami +2.5, third best bet. Not a best bet. It's just our third favorite bet.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth bet, Cleveland -2.5. Fifth bet, Detroit +2.5 or 3.
3.
Cool. Drop dead leg parlay, Buffalo, San Francisco, get them down to like -2. I think both of those teams are on the bounce back.
And our bonus pick that we don't really like that much, so it's not a bonus pick, but
I'm not bonus picking New Orleans. That's just a fuckery. No, fuck, it's right, though. It's dirty and gross, and it's going to win. No bonus bet.
Bonus bet.
But just no.
We like New Orleans more than
We like Jacksonville.
6 other games.
Yeah, that's all we got.
Yeah.
I say that's all we got, like we didn't go an hour and a half. I mean,
It was a long one.
When we chopped down the silence,
And there were a lot of actionable numbers. I mean, shit, all the numbers we picked were 2.5 or 3.
I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games this week under 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, there are only 2 that are even over a touchdown.
Yeah, it made it hard for the drop dead leg parlay.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's all we got today. Hopefully we get back to our winning ways. Hopefully, let's have a big fucking week so I can buy a car.
It would be real cool.
If I have a big fucking week, I'm buying a car.
You heard it here first. Lock it in.
Cha-ching. All right. That's all we got. Tail or fail. Please bet on football games. And you know what? Please fade us. Because we're not going to stay cold. And I want you to lose your money. That's why I want you to bet on football games. Please bet on football games. Asta.